Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. I'm super excited to have my friend Randy on here today. How are you today, Randy?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you. So I always like to say how I meet people because with Hope, it's been really cool because God, the universe, whatever you want to say, I say God puts people in my life to share their experiences, their hope, their strength, and things like that. And I've just been blessed by I met Randy a few months ago. He was on a talk show that I watch on Thursday nights, The Cave, with some other friends of mine. And then we connected on social media and I've been following him and I just think he's got a lot of good things to say. So I'm blessed and honored to have you here today.
Oh man, the honor is mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm just going to explain a little bit what Hope is. It's my podcast and YouTube channel, and it's helping other people evolve. And what my mission and vision here is just to help people get through their struggles to get to a strength. I feel like in this world, so many people struggle alone. They feel like they're the only person going through a struggle. And when we hear other people's struggles that they unfortunately through, but they've gotten to a strength, I think that it'll help somebody get out of bed that day. And that's just kind of my mission is whenever I do a podcast that somebody will hear it and be like, man, I can get up today because I heard Randy's story or AJ's story or Tammy's story. So I'm super excited. Today might be a little bit different than what I normally do. I don't know a lot of Randy's story. I do know that he lives in the California area. You're a screenwriter?
I am a screenwriter.
Screenwriter. You're
So
originally from Chicago.
I am
Okay. So those are three things that I know for a fact.
starting from scratch on this one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really know a lot. So what you were on the cave again, the man cave list past week, and I know that at some point they were talking once again a little bit about men and mental health. And I really, for some reason, that is so on my heart, men and mental health. Like I said to you earlier, I'm not sure if it's because I have a son, my son's 32, and I feel like so many times men are stifled of their feelings. And you had a little thing the other day that talked about three guys, that when things happened to them, people made memes and jokes about them. And I think that mental health is so important. So I guess that's where we're going to start.
I mean, as far as the meme goes, the meme to me was funny because not haha funny. It's funny because you have three men who literally were broken down in public, and everyone talks about, oh man, men should be allowed to be open with their feelings like women, but the second men do, they're immediately made fun of by everyone. Those memes have been shared by millions of people, and no one thought like Tyrese had a breakdown because he couldn't see his son for his daughter for 2 years.
Mhm.
For 2 years, the mother of his child kept her away from him, and he had a breakdown. And I totally understand that because I'm going through that with my ex. She got married and then all of a sudden moved, changed her phone number, and I'm at a disconnect with my
Oh
son,
no.
who I have been a part, who has been I've been a part of his life since conception. Like I still have his ultrasound photo that I carry in my
Aw.
photography bag because I do photography. So I totally felt where he was coming from. You didn't know what was going on at first because people were making so much fun of it. And when I saw it, I was like, man, this is terrible. You guys don't understand how much that weighs on us when we don't get to see our child, especially if you're an active dad.
Right.
It um, it can break you. I mean, I've seen guys at the weirdest times break from that. And I was afraid that was going to happen to me because you don't get help. They always say, oh, there's plenty of help, but there's not. Like the state of Illinois told me, I was like, she moved, she changed her phone number. I've been paying child support because I pay child support through the system because she decided that was the better way. But I'm like, I'm paying child support. You can see I'm paying child support because it
Right.
comes to the state. And they're like, oh, we can't do anything about that. You have to go to court, get a lawyer, and go through this and go through that. I was like, okay, well, what if I stop paying child support to make her contact you guys? And they say, if you stop doing child support, we're going to arrest you. We're going to suspend your license. So as a father, you're kind of sitting there going, so wait a minute now. If I stop paying child support, you're gonna suspend my license. I'm gonna get arrested. You won't let me renew my passport, but nothing happens to her at
Yeah.
all. And
Yeah.
I just told you this. Oh no, you have to pay money to go to court. Well, I don't live in the same state, so what do I have to do? So I've seen guys just snap. I mean, and
Yeah.
then it's not right, but then you kind of wonder. I used to always wonder, like, why do these guys snap and go do harmful things to the girl that they have a kid with? And then after a while, you're like, not that it's justified, but you're like, oh, they snap because of, and you're
Yes.
like, you don't, it's like no one thinks about that in society. They just look at one side and not both sides. It's like, yeah, I get that you want to make sure the kid's good, but you have to make sure both parents are good also, because
Mhm.
you're creating a worse situation for the kid if one parent is unable to see their child and they're going through this. You don't know where their mental state is, and they snap, and God forbid they kill the mom and the kid because they've just lost all hope, and they
Yes.
just do a suicide murder thing. And now you're sitting there going, well, what could we have done to prevent this? And then you're looking like, what do you mean? What could you have done?
Right.
So I look at those kind of things in society, and it saddens me. And but I still have hope for the future, because the newer kids are coming in and they're not tolerating the same shenanigans that
Mhm.
unfortunately the boomers are responsible for. And a lot of boomers get mad at me for that. But I'm like, you guys are responsible for that. You guys set all these
Mhm.
rules, and you
Yeah.
guys set all of the precedents, and you guys are the ones who keep pushing these precedences. And
Yes.
until you guys are out of power, we are unfortunately stuck with this. And luckily, the people behind them aren't tolerating it the same way.
Mhm. Yeah.
I rant on that. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's good. No, it's good because it's the thing that needs to be talked about because I feel like you said, then all of a sudden he snaps, whether it's a breakdown emotionally or mentally. Well, I guess mentally, emotionally be about the same, but and then people, like you said, they wonder, they're like, why is he like that? Just like you had that with Will Smith, sitting there in front and finding out that his wife's cheating on him. Like, and people made memes and fun of it, you know?
But had it been flipped, if it had been a guy and a woman, the whole world would have been, oh, he's a dog, he's a pig, he should this, he should that. And you're just like, you can't say you want a fair and equal society if you don't have fair and equal rules. And that
Right.
goes with everything. That's domestic violence. You can't say men shouldn't hit women, but it's okay if a woman hits the man because she's mad. No,
Right.
it needs to be down the middle, because I'm a firm believer. Do not touch me, and I will not touch you. Period.
Yes.
That's the way I was raised. My parents didn't hit each other, and my mom told me, she's like, you don't hit women, but you're not a punching bag either. You don't sit there and let someone just keep hitting on you. And I get tired of, like, Dr. Phil is someone who I can't stand, because and I'm really specific about him, because he had a show where there was a guy who was abused by the woman that he was with, and he pushed her off, and the guy is sitting there, and the woman is saying, well, I punched him in the face. And the guy's like, yeah, she punched me in the face. And Dr. Phil actually said, I don't care if she punches you in the face, hits you with a baseball bat, has a chair. You do not have the right to put your hands on her. And I'm like, you're pandering to women, and you're wondering why our society is crumbling. You just literally told a man who is being abused that he does not have the right to defend himself in any way. He said, your option is to get up and run. So if she has you cornered, how do you run? She's hitting you
Wow.
with a chair, a bat. She punched him in the face and broke his nose. And he goes, I don't care what the circumstances. Men like that, and I hate people say, you shouldn't say hate. I hate men like that, because they're the reasons that we have people doing what they're doing in our society, because they're so, I'm going to pander, I'm going to pander. And it's like, no, let's do this right. You don't
Mhm.
hit him. He doesn't hit you. I don't care if you're mad, because I can't hit you because I'm mad. You
Right.
can't hit me because you're mad. I
Right.
can't hit you because you said something. You can't hit me because I said something. If I'm supposed to be an adult, you're supposed to be an adult. And it should be just that simple. If I called you a name that you didn't like, call me a name that I don't like, and then we walk away.
Right.
You
Right.
don't. You can't say, "Well, he called me a name I didn't like, so I slapped him." No,
No.
that's not right. Period. And my dad told my sister that. He's like, "I don't hit your mom. You've never seen me put my hands on your mom." He's like, "But you need to be aware of this. You do not put your hands on a man and not expect to be hit back, because
Mhm.
every guy does not have the same way of looking at that." So
Right.
it was a plain and simple rule: do not hit someone if you don't want to be hit back. My sister doesn't hit guys. The
Right.
one time she hit a guy, it was justified. He smacked her on the butt. She punched him in the face, broke his nose. He deserved it.
He smacked her first.
But outside of that, there is
Right.
there is no it's okay this time. No,
Right. And to bring that point up because I think that's a really good point. When you talk about that because you think about okay, a woman's in domestic violence, we're going to go so I was in a very domestic violence relationship.
I was also.
So so
That's
here's the
what
thing
it is.
and here's the difference. We're just going to like you just said. So I get hit, I hit him back That's okay. You get hit by your significant other, you hit her back, that's not okay. All of a sudden, because you're a, I guess because you're a man, is that it just,
That's what
that
it
makes
is.
no
And
sense to me, because I've seen so many men out there that the same thing, I'm right now, I am being proactive for men, because I've seen men that have been abused. I've seen men that have been not just physically but mentally, broken, and they're just supposed to be like, it's all good, I'm a man, I'm going to suck it up. And then that's when we have all these breakdowns and people going crazy, you know?
and that's all a part of mental health, because it happened when I was young. I didn't know. The girl would get mad and she would hit me, and she would say, I can hit you because I'm a girl. But if she swung and I grabbed her arm, she would cry bloody murder. He grabbed me. He's not supposed to touch me. I'm a girl. And it was just like, luckily, the only thing that saved me is my good friend, his wife. Right before they got married, we were in the car together going to get something to eat. She got mad at something, took a swing at me, and I grabbed her arm. She started screaming bloody murder, and the wife goes, wait a minute, you just hit him. Why are you sitting here screaming? She's like, I'm a girl. He's not supposed to touch me. And she's like, he didn't hit you. He grabbed your arm and pushed you away. That's not the same thing. So she's like, so that's what you've been saying all this time, having me think that he has actually done something to you when in fact he hasn't. And at that point, she was caught up. And that was one of those things that kind of helped me realize this isn't normal. I need to get out of this, because you do as a man, you do not realize you're an abusive relationship because of how you're taught. You're taught, well, you're supposed to walk it off, and you're supposed to this, and you're supposed to that. And so many guys are in abusive relationships mentally and physically, and they don't even realize it. But then they can't understand why they can't have a normal relationship afterwards, because they can't adjust, because they were so used to this, they don't know how to react to anything else. And it
Mhm.
took me a while to figure out the line where I can go, okay, this is a point where we need to stop this. And I'm at that point now where I'm just like, look, the day you raise your hand to me is the day it's over. Like,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
just want you to know that up front. I tell women before, like I haven't been on a date in about 3 or 4 years, but when I do, I'm like, look, the one thing I do not tolerate is, I don't care what you're mad at. I don't care about any of that. Do not put your hands on me. Period.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
don't want me to put my hands on you, it's a real easy thing. I haven't hit a girl since I was 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
a real easy rule. And at that time, my mother told me, because I kept coming home with scratches on my face, and that's when she taught me, you're not a punching bag. Because the girl
Right.
knew I wouldn't hit her, she just kept going. My mom's like, you have the right to hit her back. And I did. And it never happened again. And I never hit a girl again. So then I learned to, okay, cool. Let's
Yeah.
start. I started figuring out how to say things. But when I got in that relationship when I was young, love kind of taints everything, and you just kind of, you have to figure it out later. And being a man, you don't have anyone you could talk to, especially when I was at that age. They didn't have these platforms where you can go, man, I'm with this girl and she would get mad, and just, you don't have that. You had the, oh man, just toughen up. You had that
Right.
back then. And now, luckily now, for your son and men younger, you have the, no, that's not right.
Right.
People out there, and we need more of that. We need a lot more of that.
Yeah, and that's what that was the reason why I had it, asked you to come on here, because I know that you feel strongly about that, and I feel like it just needs to be talked about more, and I think that it's men are, and I don't know, like you, it seems like your dad and you had a good
I
relationship
love my dad.
conversation.
He's my
Yeah.
hero.
Yeah. So that's good, because a lot of men, I mean, growing up, they don't have that relationship. And then some of them, if they do, the dad is been taught that too, like, keep quiet, don't show your emotions, you're a wimp, don't be a whatever, I won't say that word, but just don't be wimpy. I almost said a cuss word, I don't usually cuss very often. So,
You
but
think be a moose knuckle.
right, yeah. So, and the thing is then where, how do that's when you see them out, beating each other up and stuff like that, because they have nowhere else to take. They don't know what to do with your aggression, I guess. Would that be like true, the way that I'm saying
It
that?
is. And it's really funny how relationships, when you talk about the mental aspect of it, men and women are expected to have these wonderful relationships together without being taught how to have a wonderful relationship. Even if you have great parents, like I had great parents, my parents didn't argue. I never heard my parents yelling and screaming. I learned later on in life when I talked to my dad, I'm like, man, these relationships are horrible. They always yell and scream. And he's like, your mom yelled and screamed. I'm like, I never heard it. He's like, well, we would go away from you and we'd have our argument and we'd figure it out. And then we'd come back with everything resolved. And I'm like, that's a beautiful thing. But because of that, I never saw that.
Right.
I never learned how to resolve things because I didn't see it. I thought relationships were perfect. So it
Mm-hmm.
made for a hard transition for me to go from these guys talk about stuff because you couldn't play one against the other because they both would talk. Well, let me
Right.
ask your mom, let me ask your dad, and they would talk. And so that was my mindset of no, you just talk to each other. And then you
Mm-hmm.
get to the real world and you're like, she's not talking and she's not listening. She's
Right.
yelling a lot, but she's kind of ignoring what I'm saying, and you kind of get into that. And I'm pretty sure it happens the opposite way too, where he's not listening, he's not talking. But I'm just saying you're expected to be in these relationships. And I had to tell one of my female friends, she's like, I can't figure this out. And I want to make sure that I do a better job for my son. And I said, okay, well, I'm gonna help you out with the simplest thing that no one talks about, people don't think about. And when I said it to my friends, they all sat there with their jaws dropped. When a little girl falls to the ground, everyone runs over. You okay? They brush her off, make sure she's okay. They kiss her boo boo. Oh, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. They gather around her. When she's upset, they run over her. Are you all right? What's wrong? And they talk to her. When something else happens, everyone comes there. When a boy falls, get up, brush it off, walk it off. Stop crying. Get up, walk it off. Get up, walk it off. No matter what happens, get up, walk it off. Then they get into a relationship. The girl is arguing with him. They walk away for a minute, and the first thing I heard so many women say, and then men come back like they don't, like nothing ever happened, because his entire life he was taught to walk it off. So he
Yes.
walked it off. When he
Yeah.
came back, it was over. But no one taught you to walk it off. So now here you are, you're used to everyone coming to you and figuring out what's wrong, and this guy is used to walking it off. But we're supposed to have a relationship together. You're like this, he's like this, and you're like, how are we supposed to make this work when you've been taught two totally different things? And we should be at a point now where there are times when you should tell a girl to walk it off, because women, a lot of times, and I don't mean all women, but a lot of women don't know how to let something go, how to
Right.
walk it off, because they're so used to, and they'll keep going. Even when you come to and I've seen this happen where he's like, you know what, you're 100% right. And he's genuinely saying you're 100% right because he knows, and you still keep going. And well, you should have known earlier. And he's like, I just agree, because they were never taught to walk it off. So they're
Right.
still on this. And it's so funny because I keep telling people you need to teach your son sometimes it's okay to discuss what's going on with him, to discuss what he's feeling, because sometimes it's something deeper than you think, because you think it's just this, oh, he just started crying for nothing. No one cries for nothing.
Right.
No, I mean a baby, yeah, I get it because they're trying to figure out. But as an adult or kid, I'll say 8 and older, no one cries for nothing. There's a reason. You just don't understand it, and you're not taking the time to understand because it's a boy versus a
Yeah.
girl. A girl, you're going to figure it out. A boy, you just brush it off, walk it off, man up. And when we get to a point in society where we treat them equally as kids and teach them there's a time to walk it off and there's a time to talk, that's why we have everyone goes, I don't know why divorce rates are so high in America, because we're all doing this,
Mm-hmm.
taking the time to say, hey, it's okay for you to be upset, dude. It's okay for you to cry when it gets to that point. I'm not saying cry every time something happens, but it's okay when you need to blow off some steam and let that out. And it's not good for you to just constantly expect people to run to you and make sure everything goes the way that you want, because now it's a relationship that's about you versus a relationship about us. And when we get to that point in society, I think things will be better. And I think we're slowly starting to get there because more people are starting to talk to their kids more. I mean, some single parents mess it up, and that's single men and single women because they overcompensate one way or the other. And I
Yeah.
feel bad for that because I've seen that too. Like I know some women who are like, I don't know why my son acts this way. Well, his entire life you were calling women bitches and hoes, and you were saying don't trust these women. And then when he goes, he doesn't trust these women, and you're going, I don't know why he's like that. You taught him that. His
Yeah.
dad didn't teach him that. You want to blame the dad, but the reality is he watched you and how you talk to women, how you engage with women, and then you come back to him and say, don't trust these stinking hoes and this and that because they want is your money. So now he grew up with that in his head. So now that he's older and he has a job, and women are like, trying to date him, but then they need help and they ask for help. He's like, "Oh, you just a gold digger." Now, if
Yeah.
she's asking you to pay her rent and her car note to date her, that's different. Yes, I'm
Right.
walking away.
Right.
But when you're in a relationship together and someone needs help, you're supposed to help each other. But it's not, I'm paying your rent every month. I'm not
Right.
paying your car note every month.
Yeah.
Even when you're married, if you got a car, it's not my responsibility to pay your car every month. Now, if
Right.
I'm making enough money, like my dad took care of my mom's car note because he made enough money to do that.
Mhm.
So he could say, I got it. Well, most of the time, it went the opposite way. She would take his car and he would get her old car. So if he came home with a new car, it suddenly became her car.
Her
Once she
car.
and liked it, she's like, "Oh, I like this car." He already knew, like, "Okay, give me your key." So he went to the other car. That's different. You're in a relationship, but they had to grow to that point. They didn't come in there rich. My dad, he pitched in the minor leagues.
Mm.
He quit because I was born. And, minor league pitchers didn't make a lot of money back then. They still don't make a lot of money. So he quit and he
Right.
started driving a bus. And he was going to school to be an electrician at the same time. So he was growing. So they came in at a different point where he couldn't just take care of everything, but he came in where he learned to be he learned how to fix escalators and
Okay.
microwaves and
Mhm.
refrigerators and elevators. And then finally he became the electrician that he wanted. Well, then he made enough money where my mom didn't have to worry. Now, if
Mhm.
she worked because she was bored, because when my younger brother, she stayed home with the kids until my younger brother was old enough. Now her money, she can do what she wants with because now he's here. Now, when you
Mhm.
build to that point, that's different. I
Right.
mean, I still think it's funny when they got married. My dad said, "I have enough money to get a house or a ring. Which one do you want?" The house that they're still in is the one that she chose. So,
Yes.
well, she chose a house, so they got the house instead. And I always laugh when women say, "I need a big ring." No, you don't. You
No,
need
you
to
don't.
balance it out
Yeah.
because my mom got a tiny ring and a house.
Mhm.
Later on, she got a bigger ring to replace the tiny ring, and you have to look at the big picture. But we don't work together enough. Everyone wants things to be here, and you're like,
Mhm.
you can't come in here. You have to build here, and that's another part of the whole mental health thing because all the weight is typically put on the guy. You have to be this, and you have to be that. And you need to do this, and you need to do that. And you're just like, okay, well then you need to be this and that. No, 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 we're not married, so I get to be here. And you're like, well,
Mhm.
wait a minute, I have to do husband stuff, but you
Yeah.
don't have to do wife stuff. Well, we're not married, but then why do I have to do husband stuff?
Mhm.
Well, because you want to be with me, so you have to do husband stuff. And you're like, no, either we're doing boyfriend, girlfriend, or we're doing husband and wife until we
Mhm.
get married. Because you don't just jump into a marriage. You need to make sure. And that's why they don't work because you just want to rush to get to that point so that you can, no, take your
Yeah.
time, date. I tell people, I know it goes against everything. My Christian friends, they get so mad at me. But I think you should live together for a year before you get married.
Mhm.
Sorry. I know
I
what people say, but I believe in that year's time, you will know if this is a mistake or not because
Right.
you can only be a fake person for so long.
Right.
You cannot be a fake person for an entire year because you're
Right.
going to see the change. And either you're going to figure out how to work it out before you sign that paper that now you need all of this to get rid of. You'll go, okay, you know what? We are not compatible. Let's go ahead and end this now where we can do it on a peaceful level.
Mhm.
Wasting 10 years of my life. Now I want a divorce. I'm hurt. I'm mad. And, all
Mhm.
this stuff. I think everyone should live together for a year.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I'm a Christian too, but I believe with that too because I've seen it so much. I want to go back a little bit what you said about like raising kids as a single parent. So when you said that, it kind of triggered something in me because so my son's 32 and he's single. He lives, by himself with his dog. And I think about when he was like 13 and he would be like going to go on a date or something like that. I was like that mom. I was like, you don't need a girlfriend. You're too young. Don't do that to yourself. You don't need a girlfriend. Well, I think I instilled it in his brain and now I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? But through all that time, that's what I was telling him. Like, you don't need a girlfriend. All they're going to do is drag you down. And, and it's just, when you think about the things that we instill in our children's minds, they look at us as that example and what we say, and so yeah.
I was going to ask you, have you had that conversation with him as an adult?
We talk about a little bit more. He dates a little bit more now, but now he knows that because. And the other thing is I've been single. When you said you've been like 3 or 4 years to went on a
Oh, no, no,
date.
no. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
date. I've been
Yeah.
single
Well,
for 7
I've
years.
been single I'll be sober for 18 years in March. So I've been sober I've been single for 18 years. I mean, I've had dates and stuff, but I've been single for 18 years. So then I'm like, oh man, he just thinks that life's supposed to be single, But I mean, he's got a lot of friends that are married and things things like that. But I think about that. As a parent now, thinking the things that we say. So now I'm out here preaching to the other parents, like, you have to remember everything you're saying to your child. They look at you like you are a king or queen. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, even parents that are abusive, the kids still look at their parents as kings and queens. And that's something that we need, I think, to start at that younger age, instilling in them, men, women, even, like, it's not okay because Johnny out there is hitting you, because we used to say, well, it's because he likes you.
Yeah,
That's not cool.
cool at
So
all.
later in life, you're getting hit, and they're like, well, he's hitting me because he likes me. He's picking on me because he likes me.
And then they
No.
don't realize that's teaching
Yes.
her to say, oh, okay, it's okay for him to hit me.
Yes, yes. And I didn't really realize that until just not too long ago, when I heard somebody say that to their kid. Oh, it's okay. He just likes you. That's why he just hit you. And I'm like, no, you can't tell your daughter that. I was told that. I know, so yeah. But I think it's important that we teach people that they need to teach their children to that it's okay to cry, it's okay to show your emotions, it's okay to walk it off, it's okay to sit and have a conversation about it. And I think that meme that you showed, I think on the bottom it said something like the girl was looking at the guy going, well, he won't talk to me. And it's like, well, why would he? Look at what happens when a man breaks down and starts talking about it.
Exactly. One thing you said that I do love, though, I love that you had that conversation with them because things can be fixed. And a lot of parents don't want to take the time because they feel like they're embarrassed. And I get it because we're parents. We make mistakes. We
Right.
don't know everything. So we make our mistakes, but you can always go back and as long as you have a real honest open, and when I say open I mean open, because some people will say I had an open conversation with my kid. No, you didn't. Your kid couldn't say what he wanted. He could only say
Mm.
what you allowed. So it wasn't an open conversation. It was you told them what you wanted them to know and you allowed them to say what you wanted them to say. An open
Mhm.
conversation will be, well, I didn't like when you said this and I didn't like when you said that, and you actually talk about it instead of getting mad and yelling at him, say, well, I was your parent. No, that's I understand that at that moment when you were younger and you did it, but when you're talking about it as adults, it needs to be an open, honest, open-ended conversation so that you can really get to the meat of the problem and help. And a lot of times women do what you said, and it's not intentional. It's because the boy is your first true love is your son. Your first son
Mhm.
is your first true love. I'm my mom's first son. I've seen it firsthand. She's always me, 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 and it would get on my nerves. But as an adult now, I love her to death and appreciate what she did. But I understand you're seeing him in a different place than you see other kids,
Yes.
and that's why you're overly protective because you want to make sure he's safe. And you say these things not intentionally trying to make him not date, but you're trying to look out for his safety because there are bad women, just like there are bad men.
Mhm.
You don't know which is which because your heart is into this is my son and I love him so much and I don't want any woman to take him away. But later on in life, when he goes, you realize, oh man, we need to have this conversation because I messed up, and we
Right.
do that, and that's another thing that people don't talk about when it comes to mental health. There is always you always have the ability to go back and talk and try to fix it. Now, I know some people are just so far gone that there's nothing you can do. But if you have someone who's willing to talk, you can always go back and, talk it out, cry it out, whatever you need to do. Hey, mom, let's go for a walk and talk, and you go for a walk and you have that box of tissue in your pocket just in case, and you get it all out, and it really does help. I haven't had that conversation with my mom because I didn't need to. I was fortunate enough with my uncles and my aunts to kind of get that balance. When she would overly coddle me, luckily for me, I had a great dad who would talk to her like, "Look, you need to stop doing this. I understand you love him, but you need to stop because this is going to do this to him in the long run." And so you get lucky with things like that. But if you don't have that, you need to be willing to have that conversation as an adult, and you need to go at it in a not a child versus parent way, but a
Right.
respectable equal way. Because
Yeah.
if you're trying to get help, you need to come at each other equally. Not look. You can't keep looking at them as a child. When me and my mom have conversations, I always have to say, "Look, I don't need mommy right now. Mom. I want mom, but I don't want mommy. So if you can't talk to me without me and mommy, we can't have this conversation." And she gets mad sometimes because she's like, "Well, why don't we all go on family trips?" Because I don't want mommy. Like I'll do something and you want to Randy, and I'm like, no, I don't need mommy. It's okay to be mom. I'll love you forever. I no longer need mommy. I haven't need mommy since I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Like that was the last time I needed mommy.
Yeah.
Here is my mom, and that's the hard part sometimes for women because you guys see your baby boys, your baby
Mm-hmm.
girls, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't. You're like they're still kids, but they're not. They're still
Right.
your child, but they're no longer kids. And I've had to say that to one of my friends. She's like talking to her daughter, making her stop doing stuff, and I'm like, "What are you doing? She's just a child. She's 26. She's
Right.
a child. Stop talking to her like a child because now she's going to have trouble in relationships because you keep talking to her like she's still that little girl. She's 26. And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, you were having a conversation. It was an adult conversation, not about sex or anything. She's like, I can't hear this. I'm a child. And I looked and I'm like, aren't you 26? And she
Right.
goes, yeah. Why are you still? And she's like, she is a child. She is not a child. She's your child, but she is no longer a child. Like
Yes.
you need to stop looking at her as and I had to do that because I'm her other daughter's godfather, and I refused to let her do that to her. I'm like, no, no, you are not doing that to her. This is my god baby.
Right.
We would go on daddy, god, dad, god, daddy, goddaughter dates. We would go to get ice cream. We would go, and she knew that she could talk to me about anything. Like she,
Mm-hmm.
greatest goddaughter ever, because in her entire life she's asked me for three things. So of course, anything she asked me for, she can get. But
Right.
I would make sure her mom could not do that to her. And it's so funny when I see them as adults now. She's 24. Her sister's 32, and to see how they are, like the 32-year-old is getting it together. She's got her business, and but it took her a little longer because her
Mm-hmm.
mom kept, you're a child, and
Yeah.
she leaped up because she didn't get that you're a child, because it's like, no, 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 you're not doing that. So she
Right.
leaped up, and she's like on a almost even plateau with her sister. She still does things that a 20-something-year-old does. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Support that. I'm like, have fun. As long as you're not doing
Right.
anything detrimental, have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
That brings me to another part of
Okay.
mental health, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Because we talked about women, we need to talk about fathers.
Right.
How fathers talk to their kids, especially their daughters. And I think the dumbest thing, and I hate to say it that way, but it's the best way I can say it, the dumbest things dads can do is tell their daughter, you can't date till you're adult, and not want, same way that some moms do, but you get on her because you're like, you can't lose your virginity and da 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 because you were a dirt guy. You're afraid your daughter's gonna get with a dirt guy instead of you teaching her, look, when I was a young kid, I did stupid shit. I messed up, I broke girls' hearts. Let her know these things, what
Mm-hmm.
you did, how you did it, so that she understands, like, okay, now I understand, so she doesn't fall for the stupidity. When my daughter is 25 now. She's a year older than my goddaughter. When she lost her virginity, she didn't go to her mom. She came to me. And everyone was so freaked out. Well, what did you say to her? I asked her how she felt. And they're like, what do you mean? How do you feel? I'm not going to be one of those stupid fathers who, you're not supposed to do this. And yet knowing good and well at the same age, you did the same thing she did. So it didn't work on you when your parents told you not to have sex. So why do you think it's going to work on her? So now you're going to make her life hard. Then she's going to learn about relationships on her own because she can't do it when in the safety of the home
Mm-hmm.
because you are being an idiot. So when she lost her virginity, we talked. Now, was I absolutely happy she lost her virginity? Of course not.
Right.
But she did it. You can't get it back. So we had a
Right.
normal conversation. How do you feel? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, how do you feel? Are you this? Are you that? And we went through her whole emotional state, and she was good. And we have such a great dynamic now. When we talk, we can talk about anything.
That's
If
good.
she had sex questions, she could talk to me because I feel like I would rather, as a man, tell you what you need to know than you learn it from somebody who's taking advantage of you.
That's
So then
right.
it got to the point where she knew she could ask me anything, and people always, you can't ask him anything. She's like, when I lost my virginity, I talked to him. We had a good conversation. He didn't put me on punishment. He didn't get mad at me. He didn't yell at me. He asked how I was. We talked about everything. We
Right.
were good. And
Right.
we still to this day talk about things because she knows that I'm her safe spot. And that's what guys don't realize. She needs that safe spot. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't talk to her about anything without getting angry. You can get mad somewhere else, but you're not supposed to get mad in front of her
Right.
because she needs to know that she can count on you. You're her first love, and you need to continue being her first love. Even when she found the love that's going to take her on for the rest of her life, you still need to be that person that she knows she can come to if she has questions. Dad, this marriage thing is rough. and this, that, and he wants me to do this and that. And you can actually have that open conversation to help, because you can't help if you're only allowed to say so much. I don't want to talk about that because that's, no, you need to have a fully open conversation so that you can 100% get this out. And I'm saying that for the dads because it's really important. And I'm saying it as a dad who did it.
Right.
And I don't know if my dad and sister had the sex conversation, but I do remember my sister. My sister doesn't wear short shorts. She never really wore the slutty clothes. She
Uh-huh.
came out with a pair of shorts once that were really short. And my dad he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't cuss. I heard him say damn for the first time at 30. I was like, so, and that's because he almost hit a kid with a car because the kid ran in the street. So it was a warranted profanity. But
Right.
he had those shorts on. He calmly said, I can burn those shorts while you're wearing them, or you can take them off. Of course, he went and took them off. He burned them. But they sat down and had a 2-hour conversation. And
Mm,
she was allowed to ask questions. And he explained to her why he said that. There's nothing wrong. He's like, I'm not saying you can't be cute. I'm not saying you can't date. I'm not saying you can't have boyfriends. I just don't want you to be that girl that guys look at for sex. And they think that's all they look at you for. You need to
mhm,
be this, you need to be that. And my sister, to this day, she'll dress nice, but she doesn't wear the slutty clothes. And she actually has better conversations with guys because of
mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Not married yet, but that's just one of those things. But
Right.
she learned how to talk, and it's because of how he was with her. And I just went the step further with my daughter, and we were allowed to talk about sex or whatever. I don't care
Right.
what you can talk to me. I know I probably shouldn't say this. You can talk to me about blowjobs if you had a question about that, because I feel like, and I know that's a horrible thing to say, but I felt like she
No, it's
would be the
okay.
safest person. Her mom wouldn't understand it from my perspective, and her mom loves it. Her mom and I, even though we're not together, we have the best relationship. We hang out. When I'm in Chicago, we laugh, we joke, we go eat. I can stay at her house if I want to.
Yeah.
But she loves the fact that her daughter can come to me and
Mhm.
ask me any question to get the man's perspective. She
Yeah.
loves it, and my daughter loves that. And even though sometimes you don't want to hear your daughter ask you a question like that, but you're kind of like, yeah, okay, this is something I really need to answer because this is going to help her in life. When they start talking about that stuff, so you answer those questions. You're like,
Right.
okay, this. On the inside, you might be like, but on the outside, you need to be like, okay, it is what
Yeah.
it is, and you get through it. And once you do it, and not being funny, but once you do it a few times, then it just becomes normal. And
Right.
then when you're an adult, you look at them, and as an adult, it's just a normal conversation because I have
Mhm.
these conversations with my friends. We talk about any and everything, whether it's domestic violence, sex, rape, whatever. Me and my friends have had these conversations because some
Mhm.
have been through some of all of that. So
Right.
we're open with these conversations. And I feel like if I can do it with my friend, why can't I do it with my first love,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
daughter?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
daughter's your first true love as a father. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so why can't I give her that? And I do, and I love it. In fact, I'm going to call her later on today because we're talking about her so much. But that's an important thing I wanted to say because we forget to tell the dads how important it is for him to get past that stupidity. Because I have a friend who, my daughter's not going to date, and I'm like, you're an idiot because now you're leaving her to fend for herself. Now she's going to sneak and date.
Right.
You're going to increase her chances of getting pregnant because now she's sneaking. And now she's
Mhm.
sneaking. She's not coming to you or your wife for questions. She's asking her stupid friends who don't know anything and they're giving her stupid advice. So you're increasing the chances of your daughter being pregnant. You're increasing the chances of your daughter being abused because she can't come to you. You didn't.
Mhm.
She didn't get to date while at home and come home and say, this boy hit me. And you get to go out there and handle that boy and then come back and have a conversation with her.
Right.
Now she's on her own in the world. She's figuring it out because now she's afraid to come to you because you made
Yeah.
her scared in her own home.
Mhm.
And guys don't look at it from that perspective. All they think is, I don't want her. That's like what's that dude? Ti, when he was like, I checked to make sure my daughter's a virgin. Why? Because you're an asshole boy. Like, you don't do
Right.
that to your daughter. You trust your daughter. You talk to your daughter. You're open with your daughter. You make sure that she understands the consequences of her actions. And I'm not saying you go out and you're an advocate for her losing her virginity. I'm just saying you teach her the consequences of her actions, and you are her safe place to come to and talk.
Mhm.
You don't do that stupid. She's not doing this because what's going to happen? She's going to get out there. She's going to get pregnant by the first boy that she has sex with, and he's
Mhm.
going to be no good. And now she's stuck with a kid from a dude that ain't doing crap. And you could have helped save her from a
Right.
lot of that. Not saying that talking to her is going to prevent pregnancy, but it will give her a more open mindset where she knows I need to think about this. I need to think about that. My dad said this. My dad said that. Because she's not going to listen to everything her mom said because they're equal. Same way
Right.
boys are like this with their dad. You need to have that
Mm-hmm.
opposite to give you that perspective.
Right.
And any man who can do that, I clap my hands for you because you'll be amazed at how much more your daughter will love and respect you for that. And
That's
you'll be
good.
amazed when you see her out in the real world dating or when she gets married and you'll see how she is. You'll be so amazed and proud. You'll walk around for the rest of your life. And it's so important. And it's never too late. Well, sometimes it is too late. But when they're still at home with you, it's
Yeah.
not too late to fix it. Talk to her, apologize to her, let her know that you are sincere. And if you're gonna do it, you have to be sincere. You can't get mad at her for this and mad at her for that. Talk. Talk. It needs to be an equal conversation because girls and boys learn different.
That's for
Girls
sure.
explain things too. You could smack a boy upside the head and say, "Don't do that again." And he's gonna be like, "Okay," because boys like to test. So you
Hmm.
have to stop them like, "Hey, stop!" And then they'll stop. Like, got it. Consequences right
Yeah.
there. Girls, you have to talk to. You can't smack a girl on the head and say, "Don't do that again," because they don't respond the same way. You have to sit down and actually have a conversation. Like, "Hey, this is why you don't do this. This is why you don't do that. This. And then she'll kind of, oh, okay, okay, because it makes sense. Because when she walks away, she can do like most women do. They walk away and then they analyze everything and then they come back.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I hope fathers hear this and actually, try this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went so long.
But no, that's all. No, it's good because I think that that's what needs to be heard is like people need to, especially, I mean, fathers with daughters, but fathers with sons too, mothers with sons. But the whole, I think the biggest thing in society that I see is everybody's told to stifle their feelings,
Yeah,
and especially like, I mean, I see a lot of women do it too, but women can go talk to their friends all day long and whatever they want to say, and they might get coddled, they might say, buck up and get up and pull up
right.
your big girl pants. And now I'm not a big victim person, so you can tell me your problems and I will give you like maybe a solution that I've used or something. But if you keep coming to me with the same thing over and over again, I'm like, yeah, I can't, sorry.
You come
You're
to
gonna
me
have to
once,
work
twice, and the third time, I'm like, didn't we talk about this already?
right. Have we had
So
this conversation twice, three times
right.
now? I can't
We went back
anymore.
to it. So that means you didn't listen to me. So why am I going to keep talking?
Right,
You
right.
wonder then. Why come to
Ex-
me? Yeah, I'm the
Exactly.
same way.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I have noticed too is, and I don't know, I mean, medically, I've seen a lot of men lately that have suffered with a lot of anxiety and they don't talk about it because why they can't, they're told not to again, and then they stifle it, and it's back to that whole like, I guess what I'm trying to do in society, my little part as one person, is just get it out there that it's okay to talk about things. And it doesn't mean that you have to go rant on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, but you need to find that person or people that you can actually talk to, and they will help you get through your struggles, whether it's a counselor, whether it's, I don't know, church, wherever. But you need to find those people to talk to. And I think that um, there's not, that it's also been told like, if you see a counselor or anything like that, then you're crazy. Or I know my mom, when my mom had a horrible life, childhood, marriage, everything. And I used to say to her like, Mom, why don't you go talk to a counselor? And she's like, there's nothing wrong with me. And I'm like, well, there's a lot. You know what I mean? But she wouldn't, because she had that stigma like, no, you talk to a counselor, you're crazy. And I think that that needs to be taught, that it's not crazy. It's okay. I think people need that.
And I'm glad you said that because this is one of those subjects that pisses me off because people tend to want to make this a black and white thing. Well, black people don't get help. White people, and it's like, no, no, no. This is a people thing. It's not a color thing because we all in America have that stigma. If you go see a counselor, what's wrong with you? I mean, when I saw a counselor for the first time, I really didn't know what was wrong with me. Something was going on, but I didn't know what. And I sat down and I talked, and it helped me. It helped me figure out so much of why I do this, why I react this way, why I speak this way, why this sets me off and this doesn't. I learned so many things um, going to a counselor that I was unaware of, or something that happened that I suppressed as a child. And I learned later on about it, and then it made sense. Like, this is why I do that. This
Yeah.
is why if someone yells at me, I freak out and go the opposite way, or I'm ready to throw you through a wall because I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Because I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't know why my parents didn't yell at me, but for some reason, if you yell at me, I'm ready to throw you through a wall. Like, literally, I've grabbed dudes and have thrown them almost completely through a window. One of my friends will attest to that, because I was just like, who are you yelling at? Like, I would respond that way immediately. It was never a why are you yelling when I was younger. It was just like, ah, and I'm like quick. I couldn't figure it out, and going through counseling kind of helped me out. And I'm like, oh, I didn't
Mhm.
know that, because in my mind, my parents don't yell at me.
Right.
So why are you? And I would just, yeah, but the counseling helps you find things when you're doing something you don't understand why. The counseling will eventually help you figure out the why. And once you figure out the why, it doesn't immediately stop, but it becomes a fixable thing now, because now
Hmm.
you're going, this is what happened. This is why. So if I start slowly doing this, this will turn into, hey. And my friends laugh because they call me stressed, because they're like, you're so chill. Yeah, but I wasn't like this when I was a teenager, because yelling at me would set me off. When I was 25, I started getting it together, because that's when I was getting the counseling. But prior to that, yelling at me in my 20s, something was going to happen. Didn't
Hmm.
know what, but something was going to happen, and it became one of those things. So now I'm chill and mellow, because now when people yell, I kind of, you good,
Yeah.
done, all right, now let's figure out what's wrong, But it took that. I mean, had I not gone to get counseling, I probably would be in jail by now, because I would have thrown somebody through a window.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Not even being funny, I'm being serious. And so it's really important to get that stigma out, because we do tend to want to, oh, you're crazy. And it's like, no, no, you have something that you've gone through, and you don't know how to fix it. And that person's going to help guide you, because they don't fix it for you. They guide you
Right.
for you to fix it. And it's really good for your mental health. I still have times when I get anxious and all of that, but it's one of those things where you learn to, okay, I'm feeling myself getting like this. Let me just, and then you're good. You're like, okay.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
And I like what you said though. Like they're not there to fix you. There to help give you the tools so that when you do get anxious, you can say, "Oh yeah, if I do this, it'll help me to get through this." And a lot of times, I mean, myself, like I have friends that call me. I might as well be their counselors. But when we hang up the phone, I don't really say much anyways. It's more of them just going, this is going on in my life. And then I can say a few words and then we get ready to hang up and they're like, thank you so much. You helped me so much. And I'm like, I didn't really say anything. But a lot of times that's all it is. People
That's
just
what I
need
was
to
going to
get that
say.
out,
Yeah.
and you keep it inside you. And I heard a guy explain something the other day, like, I wish I remembered where that was at, but he talked about like with his family and his home, and he's always doing stuff, to make sure that this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. And he never took care of himself. He
Mhm.
always made sure, no matter what was happening in the house, he made sure he took care of everything. And then when everything fell apart, it was because he never was that you guys talking about that on the cave the other day?
I think we may have talked about that, where you tend to put yourself last, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's a horrible thing. As men, you're so used to, you're responsible, and you don't take that time. My dad even told me, go out and get a manicure and a pedicure. He's
Mhm.
like, that simple thing is going to help you, because you take care of your feet, you can stand strong. You take care of your hands feel good. And at the same time, it relaxes you and it gives you something to bring some of that stress down. Because he
Yeah.
would go and get a manicure and a pedicure. And I used to hear guys, oh man, that's so gay. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's gay. And they're like, well, I'm like, my dad did it. And the guys who know my dad, they're like, wait a minute, the guy who knocks somebody out without raising his voice or losing his smile does that? Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not gay then. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about, and it has that stigma, but it's about self care. Guys forget, go get a massage. Go like the women go to those weekend retreats where they get,
Mhm.
find one of those for men. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to do the mud bath if you don't want, but you need to find something like that where you can just kind of relax and let that stress off. And for some guys, it may be something as simple as going out, bowling, and that'll do it. Like me, I go to Dave and Buster's or I go to the gym. I'm getting back into the gym because I was doing so much writing. I fell off from the gym and I was feeling that stress coming on. And I'm like, okay, it's time to get back to the gym. I finished the writing I needed to do. Let's get this gym thing going again. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to find yours because there's no one right answer for everyone. And I'm talking
Right.
about men or women because you have so many people that tend to want to tell you, do this. No, you have to find your help, not
Yeah.
what your friend did. Because what my friends do, they go drinking, they go doing this, and it helps them. Some
Right.
smoke weed, and it helps them. I don't do any of that. So
Right.
what I had to learn to, oh well, man, I love going to the gym, and I really work out a lot of stress when I do this. Cool, let's go ahead and tie these together. Because when I
Mm-hmm.
was younger, everyone's like, "How are you so fit?" When I get stressed out, I go to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and I
And
don't leave the gym until my stress is gone.
yeah, when you say that, because like my friend, a lot of people will be like, running so good for your stress. It just really relieves your stress. I remember my friend, he unfortunately overdosed and died 2 years ago,
Oh, sorry.
2020. And I remember the night after he passed away, it was February, it was cold in Michigan, and I put on all my stuff and I'm like, they say to run, and I put some Toby Mac in my ear and some music and I'm running. I'm like, this is supposed to be, and I'm like, I hate every second of this. And it definitely wasn't a good thing for me. So when you say that, that's what the thing is somebody's like, oh, well, Tammy said go work out, or Randy said, he goes to Dave and Buster's, and I went and did that and it didn't do that. You need to find what it is. For me, it's dancing. I love dancing.
Yeah.
So dancing is so good for my soul that that's what I do when I'm, whether if it's just around my house.
I
But
love dancing. House music plays, I'm on it. I get that. I totally get that. And I'm like you with the running. I can do wind sprints. That jogging, man. Look, if you were like Randy, run, or I'm gonna hit you with a bat. I'm like, where are you gonna hit me at?
right.
I'm not jogging.
Hit me in the knee so I can't run anymore.
I'm like, let's go ahead and get this over with because I'm just not gonna do it. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
jogger. It doesn't work for me. And I know people who, oh man, like my brother, he will ride. He rode a bike from Indiana to Michigan, and I'm not talking crossing the border. I'm talking a 60-mile bike ride.
Yeah.
No,
No.
I'll give you 20 miles, and I'm good.
Yeah.
60 miles one way. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, it felt great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that works for you.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna work for me. You
Right.
have to find that. But I mean, I'm happy he found that because it's good stress relief for him. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and don't think and I have to say this because people tend to think you have to be in to find that thing to release you. It doesn't have to be that. It could be sitting on the couch with your favorite song on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
It could
Yes.
be sitting in a dark room with your head laid back on a pillow, staring at the sky. It doesn't have to be something that's moving to relax you. It just has to be something that moves you, something that gives you that feeling of, and you just do that until you feel like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
past whatever I'm dealing with, or maybe not past it, but you're at a point where you can deal with whatever
Mm-hmm.
is in front of you. You just have to really take that time and figure out what it is, and don't worry about what other people think. Oh, that's not helping. Don't worry about them. You
Right.
find what works for you, and you go with it. It could be picking the jelly beans out to find your favorite ones and sitting there
Right.
eating them one by one. That's your thing. You stick with your thing and don't let people sway you.
Right. That brings me to just one more thing before we wrap this up. When you talked about don't worry about what other people think or say or what they do, I think that that is a big thing that's a problem too, is social media. The highlight reels of people's lives, and everybody is like, thinks that everybody's just this glorious and everything is fantastic and it's rainbows and unicorns, and it's not. And people do that whole, whether you think that you do or you're not, there's that big comparison thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've done it myself. I've had to actually, people that I know, I've had to like unfollow them because I'm like, I can't watch that anymore. But then then I learn real life and I'm like, yeah, that was the highlight reels. And I always try to be, I mean, I'm always positive on my social media. I'm sure that you've seen that. I'm just a positive person. I try to
Yeah.
bring the light to the world. But I am real, and I tell people, yeah, we struggle. Yeah, we go through these things, but you got to learn the tools to get through those. But I think that social media has had such a big impact on, actually, on mental health period because of that.
And I agree with that. And I tell people, they're like, Randy, well, you're always so happy and nice. I'm like, if you really want to get to know me, for those of you watching this on IG, I'm Randy Stress, one word. if you want to know how I deal with stress and when things are bad, scroll through my entire page and you'll see poems that I've written. And I
Mhm.
write those when I'm going through something. Those aren't just me making up poetry. Those are, I call, they've titled my work True to Life Poetry. It's what I'm dealing with. So when you look through that, you'll see this is how I get rid of things. I write. That's what made me a good writer. I've learned to turn that bad stuff into something good, and I write. And so you see me laughing and joking and playing, and you go, well, that's your life. Well, look at those. That shows you the other side. I just choose to do it in a written way more than getting on here and just, my life is just like, no, when I deal with it, I have to write it out. I have to write it out to get it out. It doesn't matter if I work out or do anything else, I write to get it out. And it's helped me become a better writer, but it also helps other people because I've had people read some of those poems and they go, oh man, that's what I was feeling. And it helps. And if you look at the poems, they don't always follow the rhyming scheme, the A B A B A B and all of that. And they don't always rhyme because it's true to life. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check it out. And that'll give you an idea of the true sides of me and the sides that people try to hide. No, that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel
So
like a lot of times there's no in between with a lot of people. Either they're completely positive or completely negative. And I'm like, do you not have like normal life somewhere in there, you know? And
yeah.
that's what you see. And I feel like I want to definitely talk again because I think that this is just a subject. We kind of did a few subjects here, but I think just awareness of mental health has been like it hit me hard the other day, really hard, with the Miss USA from
Oh man,
2019. I can't remember what's her first name. Do you know?
I can't remember right
I
now,
can't
but
remember it right now either. But
head.
the thing to me that I'm always saying, you never know what a person's going through. You never know. You might see that I get teared up when I talk like this. Like you could go to that grocery store and you could see that person and be like, look at how angry they are. You don't know what just happened. They could have just lost their child. They could have just went through a divorce. They could have went through so many things, or they might just be dealing with mental issues alone. And so I'm always like, man, you just don't know. Be kind, be kind, be kind. And then to see that this 30-year-old woman who you would have thought had everything going for her, 2019 Miss USA, a lawyer. She was
Chelsea is her name.
a
Chelsea.
pardon?
Chelsea was her first name.
Yeah, yeah, Chris or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And to think that all these things you think you would look at her thinking she has the world at her hands, and to know that she jumped off a building in New York to her death, just to think of the heartache that she must have been going through, right?
I mean, for me, that was a horrible thing to see. And I think about Robin Williams and I think about Anthony
Yes.
Bourdain. And I used to watch Anthony Bourdain's show all the time, and I never got any kind of feel that he wasn't happy. And you see Robin Williams, and he's always,
Yeah.
and so you see these people, and you just assume. And I tell people, and I've heard this so many times, the person hurting the most has the biggest smile
Mhm.
and they're the most helpful people. They're the ones who are always trying to help someone
Yeah.
because they're trying to give someone what they're not getting. And those are signs that we ignore. And I found myself in dark places. You'll see that with my poetry. And it kind of clicked with me when I think about this. I'm like, man, I'm always trying to help people. I'm
Yeah.
always, and it's like you start realizing, yeah, you're not getting the help that you need. So that's why I'm always trying to figure out ways to help myself. And I hope that people listening to this truly pay attention. Watch out for your friends. Watch out for yourself. Watch out for your friends.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
big
check on
smile.
them. Check on them. You know, there's a meme that goes around that says, "Check on your strong friends,"
Yeah.
because there's so many times that you're like, "Oh, they're good. Look at them. They're fine. Everything's fine." And they might be having a breakdown right at that moment, you know? And I just and like you said with Robin Williams and all that, I had a school teacher that he was retired. He worked at our little hardware store, smiling like the happiest person always. And on New Year's Day, this was a long time ago, 25, 30 years ago, probably longer than that, but now I'm telling my age. But anyways, he in his bedroom shot himself and killed himself, you know, and it was like one of those like, wait, he was the happiest person ever. So that's where a big part of my I guess what I'm trying to do here just in life is to offer hope to others, but to offer that it's okay to be kind. It's okay to smile. It's okay to open doors for people. And I know 2020 and 2021, which went like a big mush ball to me, people were, it's so terrible how everybody was, oh, so hard on each other and mean. And it's still going on with things, and it's like, stop, stop, because people are dying out here because people can't be kind and don't care. And I don't know why I thought about that with that girl, because it just really, it hit me hard this week with
Yeah,
her,
yeah,
you
that's a
know?
good one. And people need to know this one last thing, and that is, don't be afraid to disconnect from social media. I'm not
Yes.
saying shut your pages down. Turn your phone off. Take 12 hours
Mhm.
away from it. Take a day away from it. You'll come back with a fresher perspective. I don't let that stuff bother me. Like people are like, how do you? I'm like, because the little stupid things I ignore. As soon as I see the stupid part, scroll.
Right.
I go to the next. I hit my friends. I laugh. I joke. I crack up a little bit. I get off. I
Yeah.
don't stay on there. I don't look at the bad stuff. I've had people say stupid, ignorant stuff on my page, and I just look at it. Sometimes I might respond once, but I don't respond twice. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, next thing, and I keep on moving. And those
Mhm.
people shut down. When you stop responding, they shut down, and they don't want
Yes.
to keep engaging you because it's not worth their effort. So just take that time to just. I
Mhm.
walked out the house without my phone. My friends were like, man, I've been calling you. Yeah, okay, I was doing something. Like,
Yeah.
take that time. Seriously, it's
Yeah.
important.
It is important. Well, I appreciate you getting on here with me today, Randy. It's been really great talking to you and getting to
Great
know
talk.
you better. And I know everybody's going to love this podcast. So as soon as I get it loaded, we will share it. And I want to thank everybody for jumping on Hope with us today. And I hope that you have an amazing day, and that maybe this podcast will be the one that helps you to get out of bed to know that you're not struggling alone. So everybody have a great day.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Randy.
day. Live,
Thank
love,
you.
laugh.